afternoon, everyone. I'll be talking about consciousness and artificial intelligence, specifically like the possibility of artificial intelligence. Actually, earlier this morning, I encountered this experiment on Facebook about self awareness and artificial intelligence. There were three robots, and they were given a sort of riddle, which goes like this. They were there were three dominating pills, or like a program that would silence these robots, and because since it's a self awareness test. They would have to figure out which one of them was not given the dominating pill, or the silencing pill. So they were not allowed to interact with one another. They were just like like beside each other, but they weren't allowed to. They can only observe how the other machines were moving. So one of the machines spoke and like reacted and said, or as a response to the question, like who did we give the dominating pill to? And the machine responded, I don't know. And later on, it went on to say that, oh, not me, because I wasn't, because I'm still able to speak. So here we can see that there's a sense of self awareness, because we can like clearly see that the machine responded, like it was aware of its situation as, hey, I wasn't given the dominant pill, I'm able to speak. So yeah, given this, the whole rage against the AI project, these machines were created by writing programs to react to stimulus, and to give appropriate outputs for the inputs that they'd be given, because uh, artificial intelligence is spearheaded by the computational theory of the mind. Computationalism basically states that thinking is a kind of computing, and that human cognition functions under some form of algorithm. What this means is that mental processes undergo a step-by-step procedure to some sort of symbol manipulation to reach a desired output. So, that's clear. We can say that intuitively one can agree to this thesis, that mental states don't just barge in. They don't just appear out of nowhere. There's a process from one state to another that works on some sort of symbol manipulation, language of thought. I mean, that's how we think. Sim- we represent stuff in symbols, and we move step by step to reach outputs given certain stimulus. Um, Given this, if we are to discover the human cognitive algorithm and run a program of it, according to the computationalists, not only have we run a simulation of human consciousness, but we have actually created a consciousness. So that's why the pursuit of AI is really backed on it's founded upon the computationalist tenet because of this. But this poses a crucial question: is the totality of our mental life, or is totality of our mental life um, just mere computation? But before we go into this inquiry, I would like to define first what consciousness is. So, consciousness is the feeling of awareness, sentience, or feeling when we wake up from sleep and continue throughout the day until we go back to sleeping and otherwise become unconscious. This feeling of sentience has immediate recognizable properties. Our mental states are directed towards something. Sorry. Our mental states are always directed towards something. In my current situation, as I speak these words, my focus is. Sorry. Sorry. Yeah, as I speak these words, my mental states are focused on what I'm writing. which is the subject of what I'm talking about. This is basically intentionality. It's the aboutness of the mental state. And alongside this aboutness, the conscious field dictates that there is a specific phenomenal feel of the whole experience. The conscious experience of me speaking these words and me in this specific situation has a specific qualitative feel. Um, yeah, this conscious experience of me speaking here in front of several cameras and in front of several people. Um, yeah, it's directed towards something, and like my mental states are focused on speaking, like delivering this paper, and it has a specific qualitative feel to it that for example, the whole experience of this makes me feel sort of like aware, self-aware and conscious because like, there are a lot of cameras going on recording and a lot of people are here watching me. So there's a specific qualitative feel. So these two and also like these two are immediate in any they're present in any immediate conscious experience. Alright, so I'll leave that first and we'll get back to it. So in talking about achieving artificial intelligence, there are two main projects going on. So first is mind emulation, and yeah, the other is cognitive algorithm, which is the more popular one. So mind emulation is first is you have to define first what emulation is. So emulation is running hardware on appropriate software. So Sandberg's project was to mimic the brain's specific functional organization, like the neural behaviors and biochemical processes, and run the simulation on appropriate hardware. Sandberg discusses the procedure of the project in whole brain emulation or roadmap. Yeah, I will not be discussing the gritty details because I don't think I'd be able to completely grasp the details of it. But this I can safely say. This project deviates from the traditional path that the computationalists take in creating artificial minds. Because again, for the computationalists, the cognitive algorithm is all that matters. But Sandberg would want to copy the brain as it is, not to reduce it to some form of Sandberg's conceptual approach to achieve mind emulation from a bottom-up perspective. He admits that it is sort of a blind march. Other than understanding top-down phenomenon, Sandberg would opt to aim for the lower level processes and hope to achieve consciousness from it. In his discussion in a roadmap, complete brain scans must be needed to lay down basic one-for-one structure of the brain. And neural behavior and specific chemical processes must also be mimicked to achieve a faithful functional system. So, compared to the computational approach where we have to discover the cognitive algorithm, Sandberg would want to copy the brain, like how it works, and run it in appropriate software. But the computationists believe that we only need to run a human cognitive algorithm to emulate a brain to produce artificial intelligence or an artificial thinking thing. But again, I must ask another question, which could be an upshot of my first one. What does it mean for one to think or want to be conscious? Like, as I described consciousness earlier. Could these terms mean the same thing, or there is a substantial difference between the two? Like, what is intelligence, and what does it mean when we say that something is intelligent? To define precisely what intelligence is, since it will, if you could actually make a thinking thing, I've decided to call psychology for aid. Textbook psychology defines intelligence simply as the ability to solve problems and to adapt and to learn from experience. In this basic definition, we can see why the computationalists think that they would get it right. The textbook definition implies that intelligence can be found in manifestations of intelligent behavior. They do not require a genuine sense of intelligence, hence consciousness, like the ones we have right now. The computationists argue that the essential cognitive algorithm can be obtained and applied in appropriate systems. Intelligence, hence consciousness, can be achieved then. Again, they would argue that the outcome, which is intelligent behavior, is all that matters and not the process that is involved. The biochemistry is very clear. It's very clever, but relevant only insofar as it enables the biological agent to achieve its goals. Perhaps there are other solutions using biochemical substances that could be substituted and still have the same effect. The real question whether the nature of consciousness would change is if the specific mechanism chemistry is changed. There's no evidence to suggest that it might. The human nervous system is currently the only example we would all agree is actually conscious. But this doesn't mean consciousness has to be fundamentally biological or has to be limited to humans. Yeah, because the computationalists need not go far. All they need is is a manifestation of intelligent behavior to tell that the system is intelligent. Yes, in a way, they care not for an intrinsic or a metaphysical intelligence or sentience. For them, the algorithm is all there is. It is present in our current systems, and if we replicate it and run it on an appropriate program or appropriate hardware, we would have successfully created. Have successfully created a thinking. But is computation all there is to our mental life? Can we successfully create AI by running an appropriate cognitive algorithm? It is here that I must disagree with the computationalists. Again, such systems would fail to capture genuine intelligence. To go on further, I must first define what I mean by genuine intelligence. I define genuine intelligence as a general sense of a phenomenal intelligence. What do I mean by this? Take, for example, this sentence: I am a handsome individual. As bearers of genuine intelligence, you can say that we understand what it means, though some would disagree to it, and how each letters fit into the words and how that fits into the sentence. There's a basic level of understanding. I argue that we are able to understand what it means because of our brain processes. Hence consciousness. The view of consciousness that I am taking is similar to Cyril. That consciousness, it is undeniable, and that is from it is from lower level neural activity. What this means is that we must take the commonsensical notion of consciousness. Mental processes arise from neural activity. So you have to read basically how our brains work. So here we can see that neural communication, hence mental processes, requires biochemical processes to be obtained. It does sound restricting, but yes, I am committed to the view that consciousness can only be had in biological systems. Another example would be that, for example, serotonin levels determine one's feelings of happiness and or gratification. If, for example, I take away one's ability to produce and receive this biochemical, it would be impossible or almost impossible for one to achieve the sense of a feeling of well-being and gratification. Computational systems will never be able to achieve this qualitative feel of mental states due to the fact that they do not possess these biochemicals. The most computational systems can do is to simulate behavior of systems given the right amount of data. Consciousness and all its properties, especially qualia, will never be obtained by purely computational systems because the little biochemicals that operate in our brain, those are the things that make us think and feel, are purely biochemical processes. It is important to note that I do not reduce these processes to to their biochemical, I'm not reducing these feelings to their biochemical processes. Because to reduce them would mean that I would be denying their existence, like saying these things don't happen, it's actually just these biochemical processes. But no, we can't deny the feelings of joy, happiness, and sadness that we have. And also like pain and pleasure. It's basically the top and the feelings, when you say top, and the down, which is the brain process, are one and the same. Yeah, Searle calls his view biological naturalism. Because yeah, if we drink 12 shots of tequila, we are gonna get drunk unless you have like a pretty strong resistance to it. But it is like there's no dualism. Just like consciousness is the lower level brain process because it is like, it's directly affected by it. This is why I argue that applying the cognitive algorithm in appropriate systems would fail to obtain consciousness. The mere fact that it lacks a biological aspect means that it would only be a simulation of intelligent behavior, and even for mind emulation. So going back to my definition of consciousness, it wouldn't have that intentional aboutness, intentionality. It wouldn't have that qualitative feel because they are strictly lower level brain processes. Even though their approach banks on talking about mind manipulation, even though their approach banks on emulating processes, lower level brain processes, to run it still on codes and algorithms would still terminate it to the computationalist code. As we can see here, intelligent behavior is not sufficient for a thing to be called intelligent. For example, imagine a rat automaton purely made out of wood. The wooden rat would be put in a maze, and its goal will be to to go through the maze and finish it. If the wooden rat would hit a wall, the gears in its insides would shift in a certain way so that it would be able to turn around and move to its sides and to continue on another path to eventually finish the maze. From afar, as we observe the rat in the maze, we can say that the rat is learning and adapting to its environments. But if we look more closely, the truth would be revealed that simply the machine is just made out of wooden gears. And even though it seems intelligent from afar, it does not mean that the system is. Intelligence requires a sense of awareness and understanding of things. The rat in the maze seemed to display these traits, but as we look more closely, it will be just a bunch of wooden cogs moving around. So yeah, we have discussed the failures of computationalism as how it would like to talk about consciousness. And the proper way to talk about consciousness is, of course, to take the common sense approach, meaning what do we know, like what we do know about it, and more importantly, what does biology say? Our consciousness is a property of the brain. Higher level mental states come from lower level brain processes. Yeah, the feeling of sadness and happiness come from our serotonin levels. And yes, I am committed to the idea that happiness cannot be obtained anywhere else if there are no serotonin and other emotions with their specific biochemical processes. Yeah, computational systems would fail to achieve a level of sentience and understanding because, as I have discussed earlier, they would only be mimicking intelligent behavior but not actually possessing intelligence because, yeah, going back, intelligence is founded on or it comes from these lower level brain processes. Without it, I don't think we would be able to achieve a genuine sense of consciousness and emotions and of a genuine mental life, but only a simulation of it if we run algorithms of it. And yeah, I guess that's it. To conclude, the proper way of achieving artificial intelligence would be that, yeah, to create an actual thinking thing, we must refer to the primal blueprint of consciousness, which is the brain. So if we want to make a genuine sense of intelligence, a genuine sense of consciousness. We must be faithful to the structures and the biological aspect of our brain. Yeah, so no, that's all. That's everything. Thank you.
Yay.